So if you're looking for the best online business idea to start in 2026, drop servicing could be the smartest decision you make this year if you go about it the right way. But you need the right steps to get there. And around this time in 2015, I was sitting in a call center on minimum wage, starting at about $60,000 of student loan debt. And 8 months later, I was walking into an airport with no return ticket and a business on my laptop doing around $7,000 a month. And the reason that happened has nothing to do with being smarter, working harder, or getting lucky. It came down to choosing a model that actually works for beginners and going about it in the right way. So my goal in this video is to give you a clear, complete guide to how drop servicing actually works, so you can decide for yourself step by step whether this is something you should even touch. And if you're looking for flashy promises or get rich quick fast stories, this probably isn't the right video. But if you want to understand how to use this model realistically to replace a normal day job income, then you're exactly where you should be. And after watching this video, you'll have a complete enough understanding to check out the 2-hour free training in the description below, where I'll teach you step by step how to get your first sales, complete with templates and tutorials for how to do it. But the thing is, most people hear online business and assume it means one of a few things. You need to learn some kind of high skill, you need to sell physical products, or you need to become a content creator dancing around on social media. And that's how most business models are structured, but drop servicing works differently, not because it's newer or a special secret, but because it's designed around structure and systems, not skills or your resources. And once you see that structure clearly, a lot of the confusion around online business disappears. But who the hell am I to talk about this? Well, over the past 10 years, I've used the same structure I'm about to share with you to build multiple online businesses that still generate millions in revenue each year. But more importantly, I've helped over 1,000 normal people build drop servicing businesses ranging from a few thousand a month on the side to well past 10 and even $100,000 a month. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the drop servicing model step by step, what it is, why it works, who it's actually for, and where people usually get it wrong. So by the end of this video, you'll know whether it makes sense for you or not and how to go about it in the right way. And when I say the right way, I'm not talking about skill or effort. I mean, what changed for me wasn't that I suddenly worked more hours or learned something technical. It was that I stopped trying to be the one doing the work, and instead I focused on setting things up so that my job was deciding what gets sold, who it's sold to, and how the work gets delivered without me being involved in delivery itself. And that shift is the foundation of drop servicing. And once you see that structure clearly, the rest of the model starts to feel obvious. So before we go any further, we need to clear up one thing, because most people hear drop servicing and immediately picture the wrong business. And if you don't get this part right, everything else in this video could feel confusing for no reason. So back in the beginning, when I first stumbled into this model, I thought I needed to be good at a skill like design, editing, or marketing, something I could point to and say, that's my skill. But what actually made the difference wasn't learning how to do the work, it was realizing I didn't need to. So the easiest way to think about drop servicing is like this. There are people who do the work, and there are people who organize how the work gets sold and delivered, and that's the business owner. The problem is, most beginners try to be both at the same time, and they fail almost every time. So if you're not the one doing the work, what exactly are you doing? Well, at its core, drop servicing is simple. You sell a service that businesses already want, and a client pays you for the outcome, and someone else delivers the work. So your role sits in the middle, not as a middleman, but as a person who owns the relationship, the offer, and the system. You're the business owner. So you're not pretending to be an expert or anything like that. You're just making sure the expert work gets done properly and delivered cleanly, and that's it. And once you see it that way, the model stops sounding clever and starts sounding obvious. Now, what kind of services can you sell with drop servicing? Well, this works with any service that can be delivered digitally online. So AI assistants, design, content, lead generation, there are literally hundreds of potential services that we can sell online as drop services. And the important part isn't which service you choose, it's that the demand already exists and that the delivery can be handled by someone who's actually better at it than you. So at the beginning, your job isn't to master the service, it's to structure how it gets sold and delivered without friction. So you're building the machine piece by piece, and you don't need perfect skills or the perfect business idea. You just need to sell something businesses are already buying without you delivering the service yourself. But how can you sell something if you don't have any knowledge or skills in it and don't actually deliver yourself? Well, this is usually where people slow down. They understand what drop servicing is, but then they start wondering how it actually works and, whether it's going to even work for them. So that's fair, because when I was sitting in that call center, the problem wasn't effort. I showed up, I did the hours, and, as we all find out from working jobs, no matter how well I did it, the result rarely changed. And I was stuck with the same pay ceiling and outcome. And at the time, I thought the answer was just, start any business because that's what everyone says, right? So stop trading your time for money, right? As if it were that simple. But none of that mattered because even in building a business, you can end up just building another job for yourself. But drop servicing works because you're no longer the person doing the work. You're the one organizing how the work gets sold and delivered. And with drop servicing, the value comes from solving a problem, not implementing the solution yourself. You figure out what outcome a specific type of business actually needs, and then you design a clean way to deliver the outcome via freelancers, and you coordinate the people who are already good at the execution, who have been doing it for years, and that's where the value lies. So take, for example, something like AI assistants. You're not building the system yourself. You identify businesses that need help handling customer inquiries or internal admin, such as medical clinics. You partner with freelancers who already know how to build those systems, and you package that into a clear offer that business understands. So the business pays because their problem gets handled, and the freelancer gets paid for the implementation, and you earn the difference because you're the one who put the whole thing together. So you're actually selling a solution that gets delivered, and once you see it that way, the model stops feeling abstract, and the question naturally shifts. If you're not being paid for hours and you're not the one actually doing the work, then how does the money actually flow between all of the parties? Well, that's what we'll break down next, because this is where usually people start overcomplicating things. They assume there has to be some special trick behind the money because if it were straightforward, they feel like they would have figured it out already or something. But the way money moves here is the same way it moves with most service-based businesses. Think about how companies already buy services. So when a business hires an agency, they're not paying for hours or effort. They're paying because they want a result handled for them, whether that be more leads, more sales, or more time back. And that's it. So the client isn't paying you because you're the one doing the work. They're paying because the system that you've put together makes the problem go away. And the reason that this works is simple. You're not inventing demand. You're not convincing businesses that they need something new. All you're doing is you're taking problems that already exist in the market that businesses are already experiencing and organizing a clean way to solve them. You're finding people who are already good at the execution and you're matching them with clients who need that execution. And we partner with the freelancers before we get paid. So I'm going to cover that in a second, but that's where the value sits. So what the client pays you isn't tied to your time or your effort. It's tied to the value of the system that you've built and the time it saves and the money that it helps them make. And that's why this doesn't require a huge number of clients. You're not selling something cheap or relying on volume to survive. So for most people, replacing a normal income only takes a handful of clients paying month after month for something genuinely useful. So once you see it that way, the model stops feeling complicated. You realize you only need a few clients to achieve your income goals, and you're plugging into demand that already exists. The client pays you, you pay the people delivering the work, and you're responsible for making sure that the result shows up properly. So that's how the money actually moves, and that makes sense. The next question comes naturally though. If this setup works so well, why wouldn't a business just go directly to the freelancers? And that's what we need to look at next, because this is usually where people think they found a flaw. They hear all of this and they go, okay, but why wouldn't a business just hire the freelancer directly? And it sounds logical on the surface, and if you've never been on the buying side of a business, it can be an easy assumption to make, but that's not how businesses actually think about this. So think about the last time you paid for something to be done properly. You probably didn't want to spend hours and hours evaluating options, hiring, and then managing people once you paid. You wanted the problem handled, and businesses are no different. Most businesses don't want freelancers because there's a lot of friction in searching, vetting, and hiring freelancers, and it would mean a lot of manual communication and management that they just don't have the time for. So when a business pays you, they're not paying for labor, they're just paying for the simplicity. You showed up, you've got an offer, they want that offer, you're there, they buy. They're not evaluating the hundreds of agencies out there. It's just a clear outcome with one point of contact and someone responsible for making sure it works. So this is also why paying more for an easier setup is completely normal in business. Companies do it all the time. They pay agencies and consultants because it's easier, and that's what we are as drop services. But there's one more piece to this that really matters. It's not just that you make things easier, it's that you make the decision feel safer. So when a business hires you, they're not taking a blind bet because you're going to have a ton of past work and examples in their specific niche from the freelancers that you've partnered with. And those case studies and past work examples that you gather from a wide range of freelancers do a few important things for you. But one of those things is that they give you proof and credibility that your agency can actually deliver the work that it promises to. So all you're doing is leveraging freelancers to package your service in a premium way that appeals to high value buyers and combining all of these case studies and portfolio pieces together to make you look super legit. But now that you get why the client buys from you, we need to talk about why the freelancers would want to partner with you in the first place. So that's what we'll look at next. And this is usually where people do get a bit suspicious for a different reason. They understand why clients buy, and then they assume that the other side must be getting some kind of bad deal. They think, why would a freelancer ever agree to this type of situation? Why wouldn't they just cut me out and steal the client? And that assumption comes from not really understanding how freelancers actually live. Most freelancers don't struggle because they're bad at what they do. They struggle because everything outside the work of delivering the service drains them. Finding clients, selling themselves, explaining what they do, handling calls, revisions, scope creep, follow-ups, managing the project. None of that is the work that they got into freelancing for. And when I first started partnering with freelancers, I thought the value was the money that they were getting, the constant projects that I'd bring my freelancers, but it wasn't. The real value was removing uncertainty, because a good freelancer wants three things: consistent work, clear expectations, and not having to sell themselves over and over again. And that's it. So when a freelancer works directly with random clients, they're exposed to chaos, unclear briefs, late payments, endless revisions, clients who don't know what they want. And when they work with you, that chaos is filtered out. So you're the one finding the clients, managing the clients, and handling the communication and expectations with the client directly. And the freelancer gets to do what they're actually good at: deliver the work. And here's the part most people miss. Freelancers don't want one client, they want predictable income. So if you can bring them repeat work in a stable relationship, they don't care that you're the one selling the service or how much you're charging clients as a markup on top of their cost. From their perspective, you're not competition, you're a channel of clients for them. You're bringing them opportunities that they wouldn't have accessed on their own without them having to change who they are or how they work. And this is also why the "they'll just steal your clients" fear doesn't really hold up. A freelancer who cuts you out doesn't gain a client, they just lose a pipeline of all the future clients that you were going to bring them. So it just doesn't logically make sense for them to try and steal them. And even from the client side, it's unlikely the client would go along with it anyway. They didn't hire a freelancer, they hired a system, and going behind your back introduces risk, awkwardness, and instability. It's kind of strange. The client will not want to work with someone like that. So it's self-destructive, and I've never actually heard of it happening. I've crossed over 1,000 students at this point, or any of the drop services I know. So when this is set up properly, everyone's aligned. The client gets a result without friction, the freelancer gets paid to do what they're good at, and you get paid for organizing the entire thing. But this next piece can make or break everything, because even if you do everything else wrong, the next piece will practically guarantee that you'll hit $10,000 per month if you do it right. So a while back, I was out with a friend of mine. We're standing at a bar in Krakow, Poland, talking about work and how he's traveling a lot at the moment and not doing very much of it, work. And I ask how his business is going. So he tells me he's doing a little over $10,000 a month, which is a common goal that people have. Out of curiosity, I asked him, how many clients do you have? And he says 3. And then he casually adds that one of those clients makes up about 70% of his revenue. And at first that sounds risky, but then you actually think about it. He sells SEO, search engine optimization, and that one client is paying him for something ongoing that directly impacts their business. It's valuable, consistent, and it's not tied to how many hours he works. So that conversation stuck with me because I see that over and over again. It perfectly describes what a working drop servicing business looks like. Not a lot of clients, because most people don't need to make millions of dollars to be happy. Most people I talk to just want a bit of freedom from a simple little laptop business, and all it takes is just a small number of businesses paying for something that matters month after month. So this is something most people don't really take into consideration. Focusing on getting more and more sales, more and more customers, and more volume in your business is the weakest and most difficult way to try and build a sustainable income. You want something high ticket that businesses spend a lot on, something recurring that they need month after month, and something highly profitable so that a big chunk of that revenue coming in stays in your pocket as profit. So in drop servicing, you're not trying to sell something cheap to a lot of people. You're always solving a real problem for a small number of businesses. And when the outcome matters, pricing is based on value, not effort. So that's why one client can be worth more than 10 smaller ones. And once you have a few clients who know, like, and trust you, they stick with you month after month. And that's why people are often surprised by how calm this looks when it's all working. It's not a hustle montage, it's not a Rocky movie. It's a small machine doing one thing well. And once you see that this kind of income can come from just a handful of clients, not 100, the goal changes. It stops being about chasing growth and it becomes about setting things up properly so it stays simple. So if you want to learn about the 3 steps to setting this up properly for yourself, then check out the free 2-hour training below this video in the description. I'll give you step-by-step how to get your first clients, give you templates and tutorials showing you how to do it all completely for free. And one of my specific templates I still use to this day to get sales. So at this point, you should have a clear picture of how drop servicing actually works. The real question now is what you should sell. And that's where most people get stuck, and it's exactly why the next video matters. So in the next video, I break down the best drop servicing business ideas to get started with this year, because choosing the right service can be the difference between $10,000 a month from a few clients or grinding for half of that with 30 clients. So click the next video and I'll see you in there.